Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I know the air quality is not the best, so we thank you for braving through it to get here today. First, I just want to welcome everyone to the city of Richmond, and thank you for your interest in From Facebook and YouTube to You. This is right now our last series for the calendar year, where we provide capacity building workshops, trainings for free to community-based organizations. My name is LaShonda White. I am in the city manager's office, and I oversee the ECIA grant program. ECIA stands for the Environmental Community and Investment Agreement. And that agreement between the city of Richmond and Chevron provided the city with funding to do a variety of different projects in Richmond, one of those projects being a grant program. So every year, we're actually getting ready to roll out already the next grant for fiscal year 1920, which is, right? No, fiscal year 1920. So we're in 1819. So we'll do fiscal year. So
yeah.
Don't confuse me, everyone. It's too early. I've been breathing in smoke. So no, we are getting ready to roll out the next grant. So thank you for signing in. We'll make sure you're on our grant email distribution list so that you get the update on when the next grant is available. But we hope you enjoyed today. Thank you again. This presentation will be posted. It's being recorded, so I want to let everyone know that. And we will record question and answers after his presentation. If you do not want to be recorded, we just kindly ask that maybe you move to the back so that you're not on the recording. But it will be posted to the city's website for others who weren't able to make it today to be able to come and see today's training or listen to today's training and still get information from it that can benefit their organization. So with that, just housekeeping out these doors. The restroom is in the lobby. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy Street. She is our wonderful partner with the Richmond Community Foundation. They've partnered with the city with the ECIA grant and many other projects for many, many years. And they're a wonderful partner, a wonderful thought partner, and they have really helped and assisted us in providing capacity building workshops to our community-based organizations. So with that, Stacy.
Thanks, LaShonda. Well, it's my pleasure to be here today. We are so grateful at Richmond Community Foundation to be in partnership with the City of Richmond. We just went through a refocusing of our mission, and our new mission statement is that we harness the power of connection to help build healthy, thriving communities. So this is a great example of a partnership where we're helping bring resources, i.e. the capacity building training, and like the wonderful session you're going to have today, to people like you who are doing the wonderful work on the ground. We couldn't do the work in the community without all that you do, so this is definitely a true partnership, and we're very grateful to be working with the city, so thanks, LaShonda. It's my pleasure to introduce our session speaker today, our wonderful workshop leader, Adams Tegeler. Am I pronouncing that right?
Tegeler.
Tegeler, okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. We've just been talking, girl to guy, Adams and Stacy. So, but who is coming to you from the Light Digital, which is a local company here in Hilltop, and they work here in Richmond with a lot of community-based organizations like yours, as well as small businesses, and they are throughout the whole Bay Area, up through Sacramento and Napa, he was telling me. So they have quite a wide footprint. And you're going to learn a lot about what you can do with social media. And he's going to tell you more and more about his background and experiences that he's had for over a decade working with companies like yours. So without further ado, here's Adams.
Yeah, we got this one here. Perfect. Okay, don't want to get feedback there. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Stacy. So as Stacy said, is Adams Tegeler. I work at the Light Digital. I am the lead digital marketing strategist there. So what we do at our company is we work with organizations throughout the whole area, nonprofits, educational institutes, small businesses, to help those individuals and those companies to reach their ideal customers and prospects and clients online. What I like to say we do is we take the same the same strategies that the big corporations are using and break those down to an attainable size that's going to be reachable for small businesses. And that's what I love about what we do, is that we have the ability to expand the reach of our community to those around us. I could work for an ad agency that we work with Coca-Cola or Pepsi and sell more sodas, but at the end of the day, it's selling more sodas, and people probably would have bought those anyway. What I like about this is we're in the community. We're working with companies that are 3, 4, 5 people, organizations that are ingrained in the neighborhoods that they work with, so that we're able to have a deeper impact for the people living here around us. As Stacy said, I've been in marketing and advertising for over a decade now. I've worked with schools, educational institutes. I've worked with both from a marketing and from a employment perspective. I've worked with nonprofits. I actually worked for about 3 years doing financial counseling for people with Social Security disability benefits, and that was at a nonprofit that served Solano and Contra Costa counties. So definitely I'm very familiar with the challenges that come with working in that type of a business and running and operating that, because there are things that are going to be different in a nonprofit than there would be in a standard business. And that's just the nature of how things work. And even within businesses, there's a wide range of differences from a restaurant to an attorney. It's different strategies, different things that people will need, and we want to talk about how we can help you to reach all of those today. So a little bit about our company. There we go. So as Stacy mentioned, I work with The Light Digital. We are a company based over near Hilltop, so we're right here in Richmond. Our parent company is Bay Bridge Communications, that's been serving the area for 20 plus years now. Originally, we were all radio. We still have 2 radio stations, KDIA and KDYA. And about 4.5 years ago, we started developing the digital side so we could provide additional sources and meet the needs of our existing advertisers. So the internet is telling a story about you as an individual and about you as an organization. But are you actually in control of that? Have you taken a hold of that so that you know what information is out there, what information people are finding, and what information people can see? So that's the real core of what we're going to be talking about today. Everything's kind of in the context of telling and controlling the story of your business and your organization. So what we're going to be covering, kind of just to give you the outline. I'm an outline guy, so I like that. But we're going to talk about modern web design, what your website should have in it today. We're going to talk about search. We're going to talk about social media, and then at the end, we're going to kind of tie all that together and see how that applies with supporters, donors, volunteers, and some very cool opportunities that are out there for nonprofits that are specific just to you guys. So when it comes to websites, right now, everybody knows that websites are important, but there's this growing question of how important is it today? If I'm using social media, if I have an Eventbrite, if I have all these different things, do I actually still need a website? And I would say, hands down, absolutely yes. You do need to have a website. Now, that does not mean that it needs to be a sprawling 200-page site with images that are shot by National Geographic photographers. That's not realistic and that's not practical. But having something, it may only be a 5-page website that really communicates who you are. That is something that I would say is necessary. So as we're talking about this, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, when you have a site, it gives you validation. People are able to see that you are credible when they look you up online, because that's the first thing people are going to do. People are going to pull out their phone, more than likely, do a quick search, and see if they can find the name of your organization. And by having a website, it gives a solid place that you can be directing all those people to. So it's powerful for search. It's powerful for online directories. That's going to be like Google My Business, Yelp, Yellow Pages. All those places are aggregating data and listings to provide information about a particular organization. It's also helpful for your clients or your consumers. It gives them a place that they know they can find information. Often the primary reason people are going to a website, if it's somebody they already know, is to find a phone number or an address. So you want to make sure that those things are very, very clear and prominent. It also gives you a place to engage with donors and volunteers, or a place that you can funnel all of that traffic to. And ultimately, you have control of all the information that's there. And that's part of the challenge in today's world, is that information is kind of being gathered, shared, pulled from different sources. Google has something, Facebook has something, Yelp might pull from those to create its own thing, and you start to lose control. It starts to be it's no longer what it once was, and it creates a question of how do I actually control what is being told about me? And having a website is the first place that you can really do that, because you have full customization of it. You can create the picture that you want. It also gives you a place that you can have your events. You can highlight all the different things that you guys do. More importantly, though, your website needs to be mobile. That is the most important thing. We live in a mobile-first world now, where people are going immediately to their phones. If I wasn't in an office all day, I would use my phone almost exclusively. That being said, mobile is no longer an afterthought. It needs to be the top priority when you are having a site built or building it yourself. It also is giving the best experience when people do come to your site. Kind of think through this situation with me. We've all been there. You are looking for something specific online. You do a quick search, and you click on a link. The site is not well structured. It doesn't look good on a phone. It's not clear what it is. The first thing you're going to do is hit the back button, go back to your search, click on the next listing. If that was your organization that just got passed up because of that, that's a real shame, and that's something that is fixable. Websites do not have to be expensive. They do not have to be overly complicated, but you do want to make sure that you do have mobile as a strategy. And then just to get a little technical here, there's a couple of terms that you'll hear out there. You'll hear mobile friendly, and you'll hear mobile responsive. Traditionally, you would have a desktop version of a site and a mobile version of a site. They were two independent pieces that had to be updated separately. You had to update all your desktop content. You had to update all your mobile content, which typically wouldn't have all the same information because it didn't translate well. Today, what we use is called mobile responsive websites. And I'll actually touch on that a bit more here in a minute, as far as kind of how that actually works out. Some information, though, here. These are stats that are from earlier this year, and it's already changed. But 80% of smartphone users don't leave home without their device. And, I think that we've all had that moment where you're driving and it's, shoot, I left my phone on the counter. And then you have to think, do I have time to go back for it? Or can I get through my day without it? What other methods do I have? If you have time, you're going to turn around and go back for it in almost all cases. 74% of people are doing shopping online. I mean, it's so easy to open up Amazon, to open up Target, to open up any of your favorite retailers. Their websites are all fantastic for mobile now because they know that's how consumers like to shop. And over 55% of searches are all done on mobile now, and I believe Google says 60% of all their searches are now on mobile. But jumping back to that term mobile responsive, what that essentially means is that the content is going to be scalable. The browser is going to look and see what size screen is this being displayed on. Is it a smartphone? Is it a laptop? Is it a tablet? And it's going to scale everything accordingly in a way that it's going to look native on that device, in a way that's not going to feel like an afterthought, but it's going to provide all the content that you want there. So that's why we say mobile responsive is better than mobile friendly, because it's a much more native platform and a much more intuitive way of designing. Now, when you have a website, regardless of whether we're talking on a computer or on mobile, there are some key elements that you do need to have. So the top right corner is considered prime real estate. There's different studies that you can look up that are looking at heat mapping. So they actually have software that will look at where people's eyes are going on a website. When they open it up, the top right of it, so it would be up here in kind of this top right corner, that's one of the hottest spots that people are actually looking on a site. So that's where you should have a call to action button. You should have your donate. You should have your support us, join us, get more information. It's also a great place to put all your phone numbers, your address, all of those different things, because that's one of the first places that people are looking. The two most common places that people start are going to be the top left, where your logo should be, or your name, and then the top right, which is where you want to have more information. So that's something that we always push for when we're building sites, to make sure that is the structure that we use, because we know it's what people are the most receptive to. You also want to make sure that your site follows a easy to understand layout. This yellow might be a little hard to read, so I do apologize for that. But essentially what we want to have here is you want to have your home page. That's where people are going to start. That's where your traffic will come, that you can then direct outside from there. So you want to make it clear. Do you have an about section? Within that about, what makes sense to put in there? Maybe a mission statement, your board of directors, team members, success stories, things that are going to give information about your organization. Next section might be your services. Maybe you have, a couple of different services that you offer. You can go into specifics within that section to make sure that it's clear, concise, and people can understand it. You also want to have your contact section, and within that, maybe a map, directions, contact, donate, volunteer, all of those type of things should be there. And the reason I bring this up is I see a lot of people that try and have fun with their website layout. They think that this is maybe stale and boring, but end of the day, this is what people are expecting. So if you go to a website and along the top you see their name, you see their contact information, but then you see what we're doing this week, or you see things that we've done in the community. You might see places you can help. Here's where we are. It's confusing, and it takes a lot more time for people to process. We live in a very fast-paced world now, and people want to be able to find the information that they want easily. So definitely following a standardized layout is going to be important. Now, you can branch off. You could do about us, about our organization, about your name. You can do things like that. It doesn't have to be quite this rigid. Maybe it's contact us, contact our team. And then rather than services, you might list the actual names of things that you're doing. You may have a testimonials. So you have some flexibility there, but you want to make sure that you are keeping it in line with what similar organizations are doing. And that's a great starting place, is to make sure that you're in line with what others are having. Yes, question?
On your homepage,
Mm-hmm.
on the top there, it looks like you're recommending like 3 pull-down menus. What if you have more? What if you have 6 or something?
You can definitely have more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6 pull downs for your top level navigation is completely fine, just as long as they're clearly labeled.
Okay.
Yeah, and these can be structured in a way where maybe it's these 3 are your high level, and the other ones are going to drop down from there. That's totally fine as well. In some cases, you may have one page that says services, and if it's only a couple of things, you might be able to condense that down into a single page. So it doesn't have to be expansive. It doesn't have to be unique pages for all of these, but you can have more if that's appropriate for your organization. And just so you guys know, this is being recorded, so questions, if we can try and save most of those to the end, we'll have a microphone that we can pass around so that the recording can pick that up as well. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is, while your website looks fun and pretty on the front, and that's where us as humans are going to interact with it, this is the back end. This is the code. This is actually our website, just the top piece of it. But I could scroll down probably about 25 of these pages, and that's the source code for our homepage only. So you want to make sure that this has been structured in a way that is in line with what Cearch is going to be looking for. Make sure that it meets Google standards and that you have certain key elements in there. So that's going to be meta tags, meta descriptions, headers, making sure that you have information about your location in certain areas, making sure that your contact information is labeled appropriately on the back end, so that it's easier for Google to pull that information so that they can display that to people when they're looking for you by name or when they're looking for what you have to offer. So I bring that up because we don't want to neglect the back end of the site. Moving into Cearch a little bit now. So you have this website that is your foundation, but how do people find it? Can people find it if they're even looking for it? And that's one of the things that is kind of that next phase. There's over 3.8 billion Google searches every single day. That's just Google, and that is accurate as of yesterday, that number. 3.8 billion every single day, which is an astronomical amount. There's so much traffic going in all these different directions that we want to make sure that you can stand out, that people can actually find you when they are looking for you. Because if they can't, if they have to just type in your specific URL, it's going to be a lot harder for you to reach all those individuals. In addition to the 3.8 billion, over 60% of all searches are on mobile now. So that number is continuing to grow. Every single month it gets a little bit higher. But you want to make sure that you are in line with that. Reason I bring it up, show of hands, has anyone ever heard the term mobile get-in? People like to throw get-in and Armageddon type thing at the end of anything that sounds like a big deal. This was back in end of 2015, so almost 3 years ago. Google made a number of changes to their search algorithms, which is the way that they are displaying information. When that took place, the sites that have a mobile responsive site started to get higher placement. So websites that were not in compliance with that were getting pushed further down. The way that you can think of it is we are Google's customers. We go to Google and we say, hello, I would like search results. That's the service, that's the product that they're delivering to us, is answers. So we go, we type in what we're looking for, they're going to give us something back. If what they're providing is inaccurate, does not look good on a phone, is not relevant to what we're actually looking at, that's going to be a bad result. We're not going to be happy with the service or the product that we've been given. So Google wants to ensure that what they are giving is going to be the best possible. And that's why they're pushing mobile so much heavier, because they see that the traffic on search is increasingly on mobile, and they want the results that they're giving to be in alignment with that. So this is the pyramid of findability, and that's my term. You're not going to see that anywhere else. But there's three key things that I'm looking at whenever I'm evaluating a business or an organization's online presence. And that first thing is, that foundational base is, can people find you when they're searching for you by name? So if I were to do a search for Richmond Community Foundation, they should show up on that first page of Google, ideally right at the top, because that's their name. I'm searching in the area for their name, I should see that result. That's not always the case, but that should be the very first thing that we're taking a look at is, if someone is in your area, searching for you by name, are you displayed? The next level up is people that don't know your name, but are looking for what you have to offer. Can they find you in that way? Is your site built in a way that it has enough information that people are able to determine what it is that you have to offer when they need it? So that's making sure that it's clear what your services are, the ways that you help different individuals and community members, all of that is clear there. What I recommend is think through, what are the things that you would want to be found for? What are key areas that, key questions people might be asking? If they're asking them, you can guarantee that they're searching those questions. And are you showing up for those? Do some searches on your own to see where you stand on there, and then look into, okay, this is an area that someone might be looking. It doesn't have that clear language, those words, that verbiage on the site itself. So then you can make some tweaks to it so that you'll be able to start to show up in that area. And then the top space, the top of the pyramid there is, how do you place yourself in front of people that are going to be your best clients or are going to be your optimal donors or volunteers that are not actively looking for you? So that's something that we would do more through advertising or brand awareness, is pushing out your name to your ideal target, your ideal clients. But search is becoming increasingly popular. And as browsers are starting to merge that line between typing in a URL and doing a search, it's becoming a little bit more tricky. Show of hands, who here uses Google Chrome as their primary browser? Okay, about half. Who's using Safari? Okay, and then Microsoft Edge or Microsoft Explorer? Nobody. Reason I bring that up, on the way that browsers were maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you would have a clear space that was for typing in your URL. You would then have a smaller box off to the side for search. They've now merged that all the way across into one. So you might start typing in the name of something that you're looking for, and it's going to autocomplete the words and the name and then push that into a search rather than just taking you to that URL. So that's just something to be kind of mindful of as you're doing things. Are you going directly to that website, or are you getting there through a Google or a Bing front door by showing up in search first? So there's two different ways that people are going to find you, and that's why we want to make sure that is such a top priority. 90% of people doing searches are stopping after page 1. They're not even going to page 2. I've heard it said, where is the best place to bury a body? Page 2 of Google, because no one will ever find it. We don't want that to be your site. We don't want that to be your organization. In addition to that, only 75% of people stop after the first 5 listings. And that's where things start to get a little bit tricky. So there's a couple of different ways that you can control your search listings and the rankings and the placement. So the first thing that you guys have probably all experienced, whether you know it or not, are Google Ads, which is a form of search engine marketing. Search engine marketing, SEM, the terms get a little bit confusing, so I think of that as search engine money. You're having to pay to get listed up at the top. And we can see that right here. So in this particular one, this would be for a plumbing company. We have this section up here that is for service providers. They're listed as Google Guaranteed, which is code for paid listings. Sponsored up here is also code for paid listings. And then this result right here, this is the first kind of more natural looking one. But if you look underneath it in green, it still says ad. Anything that's going to have those keywords, Google Guaranteed, ad, sponsored, that means it's been paid for. That means that company, that organization is paying Google to list it higher. Anything below that is going to be the organic section. Technically, it's search engine optimization, but search engine organic is how I think of that. And that's going to be the listings that are down below. So anything in the maps section, as of right now, is still organic. That may be changing in the next short time. They're kind of experimenting with it right now, that you may get 1 or 2 ads in the locations. But Google does, and Bing does, and Yahoo does make sure that everything is clearly labeled if you know where to look. And the reason I bring this up is there are 2 different schools of thought. One school of thought says, doesn't matter what the method is, as long as you're at the top, you're king. If you're at the top, that's all you want. The other school of thought says, no, consumers are actually smarter than that. Consumers are looking to see what is an ad, knowing that it's kind of artificially been boosted up higher. It didn't earn that placement. They're paying to be placed there. And those people are kind of scrolling down to go to the organic section, which is going to be the standard listings that you see down below. And that's where there's a number of different strategies that can be put in place to improve those listings. This is a quote from Google. I like it. Consumer behavior has changed forever. Today's battle for hearts, minds, and dollars is won or lost in micro moments, intent-driven moments of decision-making and preference shaping that occur throughout the entire customer journey. And that's really what we're looking at here, is that customer journey, that narrative, that client or consumer journey. How are people finding and interacting with you so that they can be helped by what it is that you guys are really out there in the community to do. With all of that as kind of our foundation, moving into social media strategies. This is kind of laid out. We're going to give I'm going to give a quick overview of the main channels, what they're good for, what their intent is, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper after that into Facebook. One of the questions I get often is, what social channels do I need to actually be on? There's so many that it can be very overwhelming. The big ones that everyone knows are Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google My Business I actually consider to be a social category as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but that is a growing space. On top of that, we have Pinterest, Snapchat, Flickr, Tumblr, Reddit, all these different places that people are spending quite a bit of time online. These ones here, if we're excluding shopping, if we're taking out Amazon or eBay or Alibaba, any of those big shopping areas, this is making up a ton of search traffic, and these are probably all in the top 10 across the entire internet if we take shopping out. So Facebook, show of hands, who uses Facebook personally? Looks like everyone here. Now, who has Facebook set up for their organization? About half. And that's good. I believe last stats are that about 60% of small businesses are using Facebook for their companies. And that's going to spill over into nonprofit organizations as well. So the average user is going to be age 38 in Facebook. And the average person has roughly 200 friends on Facebook. Reason that's important is because we want to make sure that we know the demographic of the individuals there. Facebook has the deepest advertising targeting, which we'll get into a little bit later, but the information that they have is pretty astounding, and you can get very detailed with who it is that you want to reach. The average amount of time that people are spending on Facebook equals over 7 billion minutes every single month. What's that? 700 billion, thank you. Trying to read off the screen over there. Yeah, 700 billion minutes every single month on Facebook. Of that, within that time frame, there's 2.7 billion posts that are being liked or commented on every single day. Additionally, 250 million photos are being shared each day. And 1 million business pages are being liked every day. And now when somebody likes a page, that's going to be, that it shows up in their feed, and potentially their friends, their family, their connections are going to see that person has liked or endorsed your organization. So that's just at a very foundational way, a way that you can start to get name recognition out there. On top of that, if somebody sees a post from your organization and a couple of their friends have liked it, it's going to have your Facebook page name, and your logo there, and then it's going to say Stacy likes, Steve likes, and it's going to basically be endorsing it from those individuals, whether they're fully aware of it or not. They've liked the page, and Facebook is telling their friends and their family that these people have also liked the page. So it builds stronger credibility right off the bat. Instagram's the next one that we'll talk about. Facebook owns Instagram. They purchased them back in 2012, and since that time, the platform has really taken off. There's 4 million monthly active users, and 30 billion photos have been shared on the platform. Every day, there's 1.6 billion likes, and 8 million photos are being shared each and every day. One of the things, though, that I like about it is it's really engaging content. It works well. So Instagram is all about photos. It's all about sharing photos and videos and very little text. The text is minor when you look at the whole thing. It's structured in a way that it's a mobile-first experience, that people are scrolling through their phones looking at photos. It's so mobile first, in fact, the desktop version is very limited. You can go on and look at a specific user's page on their Instagram by going to like Instagram.com/their username, but there's not a centralized feed that you can go to. There's not a Instagram home news feed that you can see all your different friends and users that you follow. So it's really designed to be mobile first. And that's where you want to make sure that you have imagery that's going to resonate. It works really well as a behind-the-scenes type of a platform. Facebook, you can be a little bit more structured, a little bit more pristine. Instagram, you still want to have some of that, but showing things that are a little bit more real life, things that are a little bit more ground level, unpolished, unscripted. Those kind of things can resonate really well on Instagram because it's a much more private feel and people feel more connected on there with the actual users. So I always recommend, if you have, fantastic photos, you absolutely still want to put those on there. But you can share things on Instagram that are not as perfect and can still resonate because it's a little bit more, you can be a little bit grittier and earthier in it in a way that's going to reach people in a slightly different way than they would get on Facebook. Instagram also has a younger skewing demographic. 95% of users are under age 35. Reason I bring that up is that 35 and under makes up that millennial generation. Not perfectly, but for the most part, that's a big chunk of the millennial generation, which is very much into activism, into volunteering, into supporting organizations that they know and trust, and sharing those experiences. So that could be a really key area if you find that reaches and resonates with the individuals that you are working with, have volunteering, or just working in the office and on your staff. Those are all great places that you can be sharing that. There also are some paid advertising options now with Instagram. As I mentioned, Facebook owns them, so we have access to all the Facebook data as well and actually use the same Facebook ad platform to push ads to Instagram and Facebook. LinkedIn is the professional social media. It's where people put their work history. It's almost like a living, breathing resume of them, so that you can find out who they are, what they're doing, and you can interact with it a little bit better. On top of that, there are the company pages where it's all kind of tied in and centralized. LinkedIn is not the most beneficial platform for every organization. That being said, you should at minimum have a company page. Have your personal LinkedIn profile tied in to that company page, and make sure it's filled out completely. Because it is a place that people are still going, and it adds a lot of credibility. If people are looking you up as maybe the founder of an organization or maybe an executive at an organization, they're going to look up your name. They're going to find, hopefully, your LinkedIn profile, and that can be tied in with your organization. You can share, real things that you've done in there, real things that are actually happening within the company, and it's just a really strong platform for that. Now, it's not always going to be how you're engaging with your clients and with your consumers, but from a donor level, it's something that you don't want to neglect. So you want to make sure that is set up, and it also gives you the opportunity that you can be a thought leader in your industry. You can share relevant content that might be a bill or a law that's being passed that would be connected with what you're trying to do. You can share that on there. You can give your thoughts, and it allows you to express yourself in that way. Now, I say it's the professional social media, and you want to make sure that you keep it that way. You want to make sure that your photo is a professional-looking headshot, is something that is going to reflect on you in a very positive way, and you're not going to be posting your vacation pictures here. That wouldn't be appropriate. But when you use it for what it's designed to be, it can be very powerful as, at the very least, a baseline foundation. Twitter is one of the other big social networks. We all hear about Twitter. It's often in the news. You'll see that they're pulling tweets from different events, and what it does really well is it gives in-the-moment news, in-the-moment content. There was an earthquake, I think, last week. First thing I did was look on Twitter to see what had happened as far as earthquakes in my area, and I found information within just a couple of minutes about it right after feeling it. It works well as high-level brand, celebrities. There's a lot of people that do use it very heavily, but in most cases, people that are using Twitter are also going to be on Facebook and potentially LinkedIn. So because it is very much in the moment, it's a harder one to have a long-term strategy for. It's harder to post things, have content developed for posting in advance on Twitter because it's so in the moment. So if you're at an event, if you are politically active in different things, there can definitely be a benefit here. There's a lot of politicians that are on it, so you can actually reach out to them directly on there. Now, more than likely, it's a staffer who will see that, but it is an opportunity that you have there. And as we all know, our president is very active on Twitter. I'll leave it at that. But Twitter is something that we all are hearing about and seeing all the time. This right here is one of my favorite tweets / Super Bowl ads. This was back in 2013, I believe. Yeah, 2013. This is when there was the power outage during the Super Bowl. And so the power went out, the whole stadium was dark, and within about a minute and a half, Oreos tweeted out this: power out? No problem. You can still dunk in the dark. It was relevant, it was in the moment, and this tweet made it on almost every top 10 list for all Super Bowl ads that year. So that kind of shows the relevancy is that even though it's not a traditional advertisement, if what you have to say is current and relevant, it can still have a significant reach. Google My Business. This is another big one. You may have heard the term Google+. Has anyone heard Google+ before? Google+ was a failed social network. By all definitions, it failed. Google saw that Facebook was big, that Twitter was big, that LinkedIn, that all these other ones were growing, and they said, hey, we want to be a social network too. People use Gmail. Let's just create this social media channel, and everyone with a Gmail will create an account for them. So that's what they did. And the reaction was, what is this? I didn't sign up for this. I don't want this. I'm not using this. So it never really got off the ground. For years, they would say, the joke was, if you use Google+, you either work in marketing or you work for Google, because nobody else was using it. Google realized this, and over time has been kind of trying to course correct, where it eventually became the face for their business profiles. They later connected that with maps. And then last year, they sort of said, okay, we're going to start fresh again with Google My Business. Google Plus is technically still out there, but it is fading and probably will not be for much longer. Google My Business is a very important piece. Reason I say that is it's how you control the information that Google has about you, the information that people see when they're searching. When you do a search, you'll often see a box like this on the right side. This is information that's pulled directly from that company or organization's Google My Business profile. So when you set that up, when you verify your business that it is in fact a real thing, and in order to do that, you actually have to have Google mail a physical postcard with a code on it that you then take that code and type it back in to validate that you are in fact a real place. But by doing that, you're able to control the address, the hours of operation, your phone number. You have other options too. You can list holidays. You can list, they've recently added in a feature where you can list promotions, upcoming events. All of those things are now going to be in here, as well as aggregating like buttons for your social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and review sites as well. So you'll start to see Yelp icons in there. In addition to that, it also gives you the ability to centralize all of your Google reviews. Now, reviews are a tough thing. There's a lot of pros and there's some cons to them as well, because when you open yourself up for feedback, you're going to get some positive. You're always going to get somebody who's unhappy. So what you want to do is make sure that you are that you have that information that's centralized, that you're able to view it, you're able to respond to things. Again, it goes back to controlling your story. The story that Google has about you, the information, it's all things that you want. And the more we can feed to Google that's accurate, that's relevant, that's correct, the better your overall internet-wide story is going to be. So that's why this is such an important one. Additionally, Google likes when people are using their latest tools. So when a business is using a Google My Business profile, when they start to use the promos, they're posting the events in there, it's telling Google that you're more relevant, and it is reinforcing the credibility of your organization, which can start to help your overall search rankings, making it easier for people to find you, making it easier for people to contact you and know what services you offer. And then YouTube. YouTube is considered depending on different studies, the second or third largest search engine. Now, YouTube is owned by Google, so it makes sense that their videos are going to be featured in Google search results. But the average person who is using it is going to be spending 40 minutes on it. Now that's a lot of time, but when we look and see, some people are spending a couple hours, some people are spending a few minutes. Maybe it's a how-to, maybe it's a tutorial that you're looking at on how to. I was fixing a garage door, and I looked it up on YouTube. It was a 5-minute video that I probably watched 4 or 5 times all the way through to be able to do what I needed to do properly. It's also a great place that you can put your events. When you have videos of your events, videos about your team, about your organization, by putting it all in YouTube, it is putting it in a place that is easy for people to access. People trust it. People know that it's going to be, that security-wise, YouTube is safe. But it also is a very stable and reliable player that does not cost anything to use. So definitely it's a place you want to be doing things. You also want to make sure that your keywords and your descriptions are completely filled out within there so that it's going to be relevant to what people search within YouTube itself, as well as Google on a larger note. So you want to make sure that it is up to date and that you take ownership of those videos. There's been a number of organizations I've worked with that they have video content out there, but one person posted a couple videos, another person posted a few more. Somebody else who's no longer even with the organization posted things that they can't even touch at this point. So by having your organization with a YouTube channel, you're able to make sure that all of that is directed into one central place that you're able to control, you're able to see, you're able to edit if things need to be corrected. And then you have the ability to share that on your website, on Facebook, or on LinkedIn. And that's why it's an important thing to have. YouTube is also experimenting, and they have some different live options now. It's not available to every single user, but that is something that you can apply for if that would be relevant to your business or your organization. So switching gears over to Facebook. This was from a keynote that Mark Zuckerberg gave a while back. The numbers are not relevant there. But if you look at the scope of those things, there's a lot of influence that Facebook has. In addition to the Facebook app itself, they own WhatsApp, which is a massive texting one. It's used by a lot of international communication goes through WhatsApp now. This is another, I think Teams is what that one's called. That was something that they were experimenting with for work. Messenger is another massive way of communicating through Facebook, and Instagram. That's kind of the sphere of influence that Facebook has within social media. They have over 1.5 billion active users on any given day. It's over 2 billion actual accounts, but over 1.5 billion active users in any given day. So that it's a massive amount of people that are there. It's kind of the de facto starting place for all people using social media above the age of probably 20. Everyone at least has Facebook. It's kind of Facebook and Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn. But it's the place that everything is able to start, and it is the place that we recommend that every organization has a presence on. Sometimes the others are not going to be relevant, but Facebook is going to be your starting place in addition to Google. When we're talking about Facebook business pages, and just to clarify, there's kind of two sides of it here. There's a Facebook personal page and a Facebook business page. With a personal page, you have kind of security settings. You can have that locked down, so you have to approve all the friends. You can limit who can see things, who cannot. But you also have a cap with the number of people that can be your friend. It's somewhere around 2,500. It's not a clear number, but it's around 2,500 friends is the cap. Beyond that, you'd want to be using a Facebook business page. And there's a lot of benefits to that as well, because it gives you access to a lot more information. Additionally, I want to bring it up because Facebook's terms actually say that a personal page cannot be used for business purposes. It cannot represent a business or an organization. And in doing so is a violation of their terms, and they can shut that page down. So you just want to make sure that you have those separate. Now, a business page does have to have a personal page attached to it. So you cannot just have a company or a brand page without anyone attached to it. I also would recommend that you do add a couple of people onto that and make sure that they are real accounts. We've had a number of situations. One that we're working with right now, Nicole over here, where an organization set up a fake account that they all had a password to that they used as the owner of that business page. Well, because it was not a single person that was using it, it was a violation of Facebook's terms, and they shut that one down, leaving them with no way of accessing their business page. It's been about 6 months that we've been going back and forth with Facebook and still don't have full resolution on that. But that is something that can happen, and we want to help you to prevent that. So you want to make sure that you have a couple of people, just kind of for redundancy purposes, attached to it, so that nothing is going to happen with it down the line. With the Facebook business page, though, you have access to a lot more options. So you can add a call to action button. You can have that say, anything from call now, sign up, register, download an app. All those things are great options for people, in addition to donate now. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but Facebook's really built up their donations platform, and there's a lot of cool things that are happening there. Some ways that you can tell the difference between a personal and a business page, because it can be a little bit tricky at times. When you look on the profiles, the giveaways of a business page are, it's going to have a section for reviews. People do not get reviews on Facebook. And it's going to have map sections. People do not have their address and their phone number publicly listed on their personal profiles on Facebook. That's not an option. So if you see those, that's a giveaway that it is already a business page, which is great because you then are going to have access to a lot more analytics. They call them the insights, but it's how you can see information about what you're posting. You can see the number of people that are liking, commenting, sharing, the number of people that have seen something, so that you can react in real time to that. If you see a particular type of post is doing really well, then you know, okay, my followers like this type of content. Let me share more things that are relevant to that particular thing. And it gives you the ability to do some A/B testing where you can look and see what works, what doesn't work, and you can adjust from that point. It also, you can look in there and see what days of the week are things doing best. Maybe you see that you get a lot more engagement on Saturdays than you do on Monday and Tuesday. So if that's the case, start to put out fresh content, Friday and Saturday, so that there's more relevant things to be shared on a Saturday. You're also able to see the number of people that are liking it, liking the page itself, viewing the page, clicking through to go to your website, clicking or tapping to call right through Facebook. All that information is available there. It also it gives you the ability to see paid versus organic activity. So similar to Google search, Facebook has the organic section and the paid section. Anything paid on Facebook is going to be listed as sponsored, so that's a giveaway. But it also gives you a lot more targeting options that you can use when you're trying to reach that particular individual or that particular type of person. So let's say that you're wanting to put together a campaign for to reach supporters and donors. And let's say that you are an organization that works with children after school. What you can do is you can create an ad that you want to run to people that are living in the area, that have expressed interest in like children in after-school activities, education, and philanthropy. That's probably somebody who would be interested in knowing what it is that your organization is doing. So we can create an ad that's going to go to that type of an individual that's going to show up right in their Facebook feed so that they can start to become more aware of you. We can also run ads to a particular list of individuals. Maybe you have a list of people that have donated over the past 24 months. You can put that list in, run an ad to those individuals so that they see a particular need that the organization has in the coming months, so that those people that already know you, like you, and trust you are able to engage with you in a little bit deeper level. The main ways that people are connecting and interacting, and this is all built into the analytics and insights tools in Facebook. But the way people are interacting is you have your overview, you have likes, you have the reach counts, the page views, actions on pages, you have posts, events, videos, people, and messages. These are all kind of the categories of what you can look into within the Facebook Insights itself. So there's a lot there, and I would encourage you all to take a look at that if you haven't ever looked at that before. If you don't have a business Facebook yet, there's a couple of things that you will need to have for it. One, you'll need to have a personal page that you started off of. But beyond that, you just need to have the page name. Always recommend that should be your organization name. You want to set up the username for it, which is it'll be listed as like @username. It also controls what the URL for that is. The way you would get to that page would be facebook.com/username. So if you can get that as your organization name or something that is reflective of that, that makes it easy for people to get there. You'll want your profile picture, which should be your logo. That's the one that's going to be posted next to content that you share and like, as well as a cover photo. That's something that I recommend should be a little bit more engaging, something that's going to show more the essence of what you're doing. Think of that as a billboard at the top of the page. You want to make sure that what is up there is formatted correctly, is sized correctly, and looks well on the mobile app or on a computer. If you're ever unsure kind of what the sizes are, you can just do a quick Google search for Facebook cover photo size, social media photo sizes. There's a lot of great resources out there. Things change constantly, and there's some good ones that will keep updated with whatever the new specs are for those particular places. And then you want to make sure that you take advantage of the call to action feature as well. Some newer options that are out there is you have a couple of different custom business page layouts that you can pick from. A restaurant may push menus, reviews, and photos a little bit higher than a law firm might. Similarly, a organization that works with children is going to put that content a little bit higher versus maybe it's a water kind of treatment organization. That might be the imagery and the relevancy and the engagement might not be quite as interactive. So some of those things might be put in a different order. They might just put more reviews or contact a little bit higher. So take a look at those and make sure that you are filling out the profile completely. You have the about information. You have all the key people within the organization listed so that it is easy for people to access all of that. Additionally, if you have multiple locations, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of change happening here. So you can actually have a brand level page with individual location pages under that. So that might be your organization name at the top, and then maybe a particular office or city that you work in for each of those different ones. Now, you do need to have a physical address for each of those, but you definitely can set that up It can be a little bit tricky, but it is a good option because what it does allow you to do is to create brand level content that's going to trickle down to each of those places. And then on top of that, you can create location specific content on there. So maybe you have things that would apply to the organization as a whole. Maybe it's donations, maybe it's your mission statement, maybe it is an event that applies to every single thing. We're going to spread that across all the pages and post it there. But then you might have a birthday for somebody in one particular office. You can post that on that location page. That doesn't necessarily need to be copied and transferred over to all the other ones as well. So there's some options there, and it's something that if it applies, you should definitely take a look at because it can really simplify and streamline things for you. So when it comes to doing social media well, there's kind of some best practices that we recommend. We recommend having a professionally designed or professional looking design to the Facebook page. You want to make sure that the content is thoughtful, that you have a strategy behind it. It's not just posting things infrequently that may or may not actually be relevant to what it is that you do. So look at your core mission statement. What is it that you really are trying to accomplish? Who is it that you're trying to reach? And what is it that you're doing that you can provide to more people through social media? On top of that, you want to make sure that you are listening and responding. Social media, by definition, is supposed to be social. It's not just a one-way thing. It's not just you putting things out there. You want to get people to engage with it. So maybe it's creating contests. Maybe it's asking people to share their photos of an event or when they volunteered, getting those type of things out there. And then you as the organization responding and replying and thanking people publicly can go a long way. It creates a stronger sense of loyalty, and it creates a deeper connection between your organization and that individual. And remember that this page is, in some way, works. If somebody asks a question, if somebody is reaching out, you should respond. You should interact with them because that's going to just reinforce the credibility and the trustworthiness of you. And again, you are controlling the narrative that's out there, the story that people are sharing. You have full power over within social media. Don't be afraid to try paid options within Facebook. As it's changed over the last really 2 years, Facebook is much more a pay-to-play now if you have business pages. And that's where the difference between the personal and the business pages is important, because a business page has access to the advertising side of things. When I say advertising, that sounds expensive, that sounds costly, that sounds like a massive undertaking. You can create a regular post that you would put out there. If you start to see that one post is getting a lot of engagement, then you put $5, $10 behind it. And what that does is it's paying Facebook to feature that in more news feeds. So you're going to get more eyeballs on that one piece that's already doing well. So that's kind of a good starting place if you've never tried it before. Just make sure that you are reading all the different options in there. You can set a daily limit of how much is being spent. You can set a monthly amount. If you want to make sure that nothing happens after, you can remove that credit card information, just to make sure that everything is going to be clear and you're not going to get accidentally charged for something. So just be careful and read through everything, but you should be fine if you're just being mindful of those particular things. And don't be afraid to wow your fans. Don't be afraid to try things that are maybe out of the norm, things that might be a little bit different than what you typically do. It's good to shake things up and have a good variety and mixture of things on there. And remember, one person is not going to see every single thing that you post unless they go to your page itself and scroll through and look there. But in their own news feeds, they're not going to see everything. So if you post, 5 times a week, you're not going to be flooding that one person 5 times and annoying them. Generally, that's not something that you need to be concerned about. So make sure that you have relevant content that is going to be reflective of who you are. I recommend creating a calendar, creating a strategy to see what are the high-level things that you know you want to do. Maybe there is an event, a workshop that you're having. Maybe it's a community get-together. Make sure you build in reminders for those upcoming things. Make sure you plan to post something afterwards as a follow-up. Look at what national awareness days are coming up, or even what kind of fun days. I was doing a workshop with a group of plumbers recently, and inadvertently that day happened to be National Hug a Plumber Day. Now I didn't go and hug every one of them, but if there's something like that fits into your organization, take advantage of that, or things that are just kind of fun and wacky and out of the ordinary. I forget what day it is, but recently was National Fajita Day. So post a picture of your staff eating fajitas. Go to Chevy's for lunch and post a picture of that. It's relevant, it is engaging, and it has to do with what is already kind of being talked about online, things that are relevant in that way. So the more timely that you can be with everything, the more reach it's going to have. And remember to highlight the top things that you have within your organization. Make sure that it's when possible, real photos and real videos. There is a time that some stock photos can be appropriate, but make sure that you're augmenting that with actual things that you're doing. Share your real stories, your clients' stories. Sharing all of those things is going to be powerful, and it's going to stay top of mind. If you're sharing things about other people, make sure to tag them in it, because then it's going to pop up in their news feed, and then it'll go on their page as well, so their friends and families can also see that content, and it can really expand the reach of what a post would have had otherwise. And see how you can be a resource, how you can be helpful to people, and see what you can do to make a difference for them. Social media is a great platform to do that. Facebook in particular makes it easy to share things. So see what you can do to help out those that you're serving. Now, when it comes to supporter engagement, donors, volunteers, how can you connect with them? How can you stay top of mind? For one, if you do have volunteers, make sure you have a strategy to share that. Ask them to take photos. Ask them to share things on their own. Maybe you create a hashtag that you ask everyone to use in their posts so that can all kind of be aggregated together. There was a nonprofit I worked with when I lived down in Southern California that would have they had kind of like props and things that they would encourage everyone to use in their photos. So one looked like a big Polaroid kind of frame that people would all fit in there with different signs, kind of photo booth style. But the signs that they had were all relevant to that organization, all relevant to what we were actually doing there that day, and encouraged the messaging of the organization as well as volunteering opportunities there. So use the people coming in, leverage them, their excitement, and their awareness to reach their networks as well. So one thing that I want to talk about that's going to be super relevant to everyone here. Giving Tuesday is coming up. Let me actually go in a different order here. Giving Tuesday started back in 2012. So we're 6 years into it now. It's kind of a reaction to Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, all of those things. People wanted an opportunity to give back, a way to encourage giving to nonprofits that's kind of in alignment with the spirit of the holidays, as well as the end of the year tax deductions. All are good reasons to give, but it really has grown into a real big thing over the last 6 years, particularly on Facebook. Facebook's added a lot of donation tools, a lot of donation options, and it's become a real integral piece for nonprofits. Looking at these numbers here, so in 2016, 2 years ago, there was $6.8 million that were donated through Facebook. 4% of all donations given on Giving Tuesday came through Facebook 2 years ago. Last year, that number jumped up to 45 million, and 15% of all Giving Tuesday donations coming through Facebook. Couple of reasons. The donation platform was a lot more robust, but they also had some really key partnerships and incentivizers. Last year, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation donated $2 million in matched funds. So when people were donating to their organizations, the first 2 million people that did that got matched funds donated to those same organizations when it was done through Facebook. Additionally, Facebook waived all of their processing fees for that day. So what typically would be up to maybe a 5% processing fee was completely waived, allowing all of that money to go to the organizations. This year, the donations are expected to go even further, and they've actually partnered with PayPal. PayPal is going to be matching up to $7 million in matched funds. And that is strictly for U.S. nonprofits that they're going to be matching that. Again, Facebook is waiving all fees associated that day, and they have a lot of new options out there for page fundraisers, fundraiser matching. There's some new recurring donation options, as well as like thank you messages that you can send out as well. So it's a very cool tool that I would encourage everybody to take advantage of. Because it is something that is gaining in popularity. Show of hands, who has seen people doing like birthday donations? Yeah, probably 2/3 of the room here have seen that. So that's another way that is cool that people can get behind an organization that they do support, that they do believe in, and ask those around them to also donate. It's kind of taking the crowdsourcing concept and making it more social so that it's easier for people to do that without having to go to a different platform of any kind. They can do that all within Facebook, and there's a lot of additional value for doing so on Giving Tuesday. Another big thing that I want to talk about is Google Ad Grants. Google Ad Grants is specifically for nonprofits, and the way that it works is when a qualified nonprofit, for that there's a few extra things too. Nonprofits get access to all of the G Suite for free. So that's free Gmail, free Google Calendar, free Google Drive for your organization. That can be branded and connected with your domain. So you can have your name at organizationname.com as your email that's going to be powered by Google in a way that's just really, really easy to use. We use that within our own organization. We pay for it because we're not a nonprofit, but that is something that they give to nonprofits for free. On top of that, though, they have the ad grants, which is up to $10,000 a month of in-kind support through Google Ads. So if we go all the way back to one of those earlier slides that was showing the ads on a Google search, those can range from $2, $3, $4, $5 a click, up to, I've talked with attorneys in the city that are paying $1,500 per click. What Google does is they now offer that to nonprofits for free, up to $10,000 a month. There are some rules that you have to be aware of, and some certain benchmarks that you have to meet to maintain that. But it's worth taking a look at to make sure that you are maximizing that, because that is free money. That's free advertising, free brand awareness and name recognition that I would love for each and every one of you to be taking advantage of, because it does give you that powerful tool. So you want to make sure that you are using all options available to you. You want to make sure that you are using Facebook, if you're using Facebook Live, if you're just posting videos there. You want to make sure that you are using it in that channel, in that platform. You also want to make sure that you are using those same things on YouTube. You want to make sure that you are crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, and making sure that your presence is going to be the same and consistent across all the different channels that are going to be appropriate for you. As a way of kind of wrapping up here, a couple of great resources that I would recommend are these 5 up here. These are great for creating graphics for your website, for your social media. Creative Market has, they have some free giveaways every week that range from cool fonts and backgrounds to website and resume templates. Canva and PicMonkey are online design tools that you can use. They have kind of a freemium model. There's some free options and some paid options, but it works good for creating real simple posts that are going to be graphically relevant. And then these last 2, Pexels and Unsplash, are free stock image sites, and they're fantastic. They are really good sites on there. There are really good photos on those 2 sites that work well because they don't feel quite so corporate stocky. They feel more real, more fresh. They work well as kind of background photos or things like at the top of maybe a blog article. So definitely take a look at those. Those are all going to be some ways that you can really demonstrate and craft the narrative that's being told about your organization. So at the top of the hour, we started with the idea that the internet is telling a story about you. And then asking, are you in control of that? I hope that after everything we've talked about today, you have a better idea of how you can go about doing that, how you can get started in there if you haven't already, or how you can leverage that to make it work better for you. Social media is very cool. There are a lot of free things that you can do, but you want to make sure that everything makes sense and is in line with what you guys have to do within your organization. As a way of just kind of wrap up, one thing that we are going to offer everyone here is a free digital presence analysis. So Nicole and I work together very closely. We meet with businesses and nonprofits every day, and we'd be happy to sit down with any of you to just kind of get an overview as far as what your presence looks like, and maybe give you kind of a roadmap for what you can do to see what might be a good opportunity for you guys. Somewhere around here we have a microphone. Do you know where that went, Nicole? Okay. Oh, there it is over there. All right, so if we have any questions, I'd love to take those now. Yep. You, sir?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Can a non-Facebook member or person who doesn't subscribe to Facebook access one's Facebook business page?
Oh, great question. Yes. Yes, they can.
They can. So if that comes up on Google, they can click and go to our Facebook business page.
Correct.
Because that's not possible for a personal account.
For a personal, that is not possible.
Okay, that's a difference. Very good.
Yeah,
and then
as long as the caveat there is there's different privacy settings. On a personal page, you could have it completely public. That is possible. But on business pages, they are all public.
Very good.
You get like a little bar at the bottom that says join Facebook.
Okay.
But you can still interact with reading all the content on
Okay.
there.
So then we don't need a separate website. Is that correct?
I would encourage you to still have that separate website.
Okay. How do we do? Or you didn't list any sources for like what?
For website design?
Yeah, for putting up a website. Like
Yeah.
my wife had one on, not Doggy. Anyway.
GoDaddy?
GoDaddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are there other
Yeah.
such sites that you would recommend for that?
Yeah, there definitely are. There's a wide range, and thank you for that question. There's a wide range of things that you can do as far as building something yourself, having a full web development team, or you can use some online sources that have good kind of pre-built templates. Squarespace is a good one. Wix has some that are decent, and then WordPress has a lot of options as well. I'd recommend that if you are going with any of those, that you at least do they always have like a paid and a free version. The free version is going to give you like a funky URL with like that company's name in it. I'd say at least pay the little bit extra to get a personal domain name for it.
Adams, hi. You mentioned earlier about website coding and how important that was in with regard to your website being able to be found, right? What information or advice could you give the group for how to either identify whether or not their website is built correctly, or if they don't currently have a website and they're looking to develop a website, how to ensure that that's done correctly? Are there some questions that they should be asking, that sort of thing?
Yeah, good question. And actually, one thing I do want to add on to that previous question as well is Google My Business does now have some very basic website tools that you can actually create a simple website through Google My Business and purchase a domain name right through Google. So that is an option for you as well. But jumping to your question regarding how do you know how it looks on the back end, how do you know what's good and what's not? And I'm trying to remember the exact term that they use, but Facebook has, I believe it's Rate My Site. Google has Rate My Site, and they actually will do kind of an indexing analysis on it, and it will give you an outcome, kind of a score, as well as how you stand on particular elements that it's looking for. So it might give you information that your heading tags are not great, you don't have strong enough, you don't have enough words on the page for it to have information there. But it is a good starting place that you can at least get an idea of kind of how you stand today.
So
Yes.
if we have a personal
Facebook page for our business. Can we change that to a business Facebook page?
You can, with an asterisk. So you can convert a personal page into a business page. In doing so, though, that personal page is no longer there. So if that was your one that you used, that you interacted with friends and family, all of that would be rolled over into the business page, and you'd have to start over with a new one. So what I would recommend...
It's not a personal one. It's a business one set up as personal.
Okay, yeah, then you absolutely can roll that over into it. And you can, if you have multiple pages out there, there is also a process that you can merge pages as well.
I also have a website, but do you all help increase it, make it updated more? Okay,
Yeah.
That's what I need help with. And do you help with GoFundMe pages as well?
So we definitely could talk with you about how to strategize with that.
Okay.
And then when you create that GoFundMe page, putting together strategies to reach other people with it, making sure it's easy to find on your own website, making sure that you're featuring it in your social media so that you can get it out there to more people.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Quick question.
Yes.
You had a page for Facebook multi-locations.
Yes.
Can you use that page for anything else besides locations? So if you have an organization and then you have, instead of locations, you have different members that belong to the organizations?
It gets tricky with doing that. You actually have to have separate addresses for each of the different locations. So if you had, different, I've seen it used for like a real estate company that has individuals working in different offices, that they did use that as a way to create kind of individual pages for them, but you still have to have a unique address tied to each location.
But it's a coalition, and there are member organizations, each have separate addresses. Would that qualify? I mean, they're all different names under one title?
Talk with me after, because it could possibly, depending on what just kind of the way that they're all connected. There are some limitations as far as different names go. So that's one thing that we may want to explore a little bit further.
Hi, thanks
Hello.
for this. My name's Donna, and I've had a small business at a disability pace called Adventures in Healing since '97, and I'm launching my first book of a 3-book series. And the recommendation is that I change my brand and my website name to my name, Donna Fado Ivory, instead of adventuresinhealing.com, because that's what you need to do. And so I've done that. So Adventures in Healing is a page on the DonnaFadoIvory.com.
Okay.
So for the Facebook business page, do I also need to put Donna Fado Ivory, but I have a personal page is that going to be confusing? Because I have an Adventures in Healing business page, but the Donna Fado Ivory is broader than Adventures in Healing. Okay.
So what you may want to look into doing is setting up a separate business page. There's different categories, and there's one category that's a personality page. So that's what you're going to see, like individuals using. So that might be somebody who is maybe a celebrity, maybe a news reporter, maybe an influencer of some kind. And I've definitely seen like authors or cinematographers using that as a way of having the brand company Facebook profile for themselves, while still having access to all the analytics, but not having it tied in with their personal content.
Okay, so it's a personality page.
Correct.
Personality page.
Correct.
Never heard of it.
When you set up a business page, there's some different questions, and one of them is the type of business. So it might be like an online retail, it might be a restaurant, it might be a just a brand, or it could be a personality. So that's probably the best route that you'd want to go for that.
I inherited a web page that I do not understand. It was actually designed for something else, but it's
Okay.
also on the web. It's got a Google domain name, whatever. And
Okay.
sometimes I can actually get it to come up. And I'm not quite sure what to do with it. It was actually originally designed to be in the museum itself. And it never worked out because we didn't really have internet. Very complicated. I don't quite understand the page. The people who did have since disappeared. One of them died. So I'm not quite sure what to do with this page. I got a bill for it this morning, which we're not able to pay because that credit card no longer exists, which is lucky.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what to do with this. So maybe I need to talk with you.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the bill that you got, take a look at that and see if there's a name of any company or organization on there.
Yeah, there is.
That could be a good starting place, at least to see what services they provide. They might be able to assist you with some of those things already. If not, there are some different potential things that are out there based and kind of depending on how the site was built. Some things could be transferred to another location. Hopefully you guys own that domain name. And you could always, you probably don't want to start from scratch, but if you at least have your domain name, you can always rebuild something using that same domain name that people are already familiar with. But yeah, definitely, I'd be happy to take a look at that for you.
Okay. I have a second question.
Yes.
Is there any value to using like other people's websites? Like our police department has a website in which they, I'm talking about a museum, and they post like a Throwback Thursday thing on it. And is there a way like to feed into that and say, oh yeah, and we have more information about this?
So if they're posting it on their website, depending on how they have it set up, it's probably just kind of posting it out there and you can't necessarily comment on it.
You can comment on it.
You can?
Because there's a huge number of comments.
Yeah, then definitely, it doesn't hurt to engage with people in any way that you can, to get that recognition out there and to show that, hey, there are real people behind the organization. Yeah, so any opportunities that you have to engage with people online, particularly in a public way, that's going to be beneficial.
Thank you.
Right over here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
You've been real informative. Thank you. So you started out talking about mobile and how things are leaning toward being accessed more mobile. So what are your so here's the thing. So you know how you get all these text messages and everything like through the mobile, through phone? How can a small business person access that avenue of reach to their customers?
So you're wanting to know how to use text messaging specifically to reach people?
That's a good question. Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, there's some, there are definitely some tools. I can't think of any names offhand. There's different platforms that you can use that allow you to send text messages to large groups of people. Typically, you have to have that list of phone numbers already that you're going to be providing. So it's going to be people that know you. There are, in most cases, like SMS rates, costs associated with sending out each email or each text. So that is that is one thing that you do have to be kind of mindful of. The other side of that I've used a little bit more directly is working with organizations that are wanting to do like text reminders. So rather than a just like general outreach, it would be like you have an appointment scheduled. It's like when you go to the dentist or the doctor and they send you a text the day before, just as a reminder. That's something that can be done as well. So there are, no matter how you're wanting to do that, there definitely are some options available, and I could get you some more specifics on that.
Yes.
But yeah, that is kind of a growing way to do things, and we're actually exploring right now how we can start to offer that a little bit more, because it is a growing area. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Erica. I'm actually a recruiter, and I feel our online presence is pretty good. We have a great marketing team. I look at it in the eye of how can I engage more applicants.
Okay.
I'm a recruiter for education. I'm looking for teachers and our different school site staff. I've done Facebook and LinkedIn ads. We get a lot of engagement, but I'm not necessarily getting the qualified candidates I need. So my question is, what resources or what could I do differently, whether it's my post or ads, that could trigger more applicants, essentially?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's a lot of industries that are asking that same thing right now. Particularly, I've been asked that quite a bit from like kind of like home service and construction. That they're wanting to reach more applicants, and that's, I've talked with a lot of places that say I can't focus on advertising and marketing because I can't sustain any growth. I need to hire people. So really, kind of the high level things that I would recommend that you do is make sure that you have a clear spot on your website, that it's very, very easy for people to see where to apply. Using Facebook's rolled out recently some, like in the last couple of months, options for hiring within the posts. So using that, using LinkedIn can be a good way for recruiting as well. And then don't be afraid to try some of the job posting sites, ZipRecruiter or Indeed. There's a number of different ones out there. But I would say kind of beyond just utilizing those tools, highlighting what it is that makes working with you worthwhile. Why would people want to come with you? Make sure that the story and the message that you're sharing is one that people would actually engage with. So I know that's kind of not a great answer for you, but definitely it is. There's a lot of kind of research and different strategies that are going in specifically to how do we get people to apply. And I would say that, the best thing that you can do is make sure that you make it very clear that you are hiring, and that you express the kind of the core of the organization, so that people can see what is different about working for you for someone else. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much. There is my contact information up on the screen for you. Also, if you have any questions, if you'd like to get together to talk about your online presence, to see how you might be able to improve that, Nicole and I would be happy to set up some time with you guys. Our office is just over, like I said, near Hilltop. We'd be happy to have you come in so we can all get together and talk about that. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Adams, we want to thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
I think I appreciate you all coming out. My name is Patrick. I work for the City of Richmond. I'm in the City Attorney's Office, and I help LaShonda with the administrator of the ECIA grant. So we're happy that you all came out. This topic seemed very technical, and I appreciate you, Adams, because I feel like you made at least approaching it a little bit more accessible because we now have contact with you. So, because I feel like sometimes we see people utilizing these tools and it seems like it may be beyond our reach, and I feel like Adams and his team seem like they're going to be able to provide some services or some direction in how to access those tools to benefit your organization in meaningful ways. So this is our last ECIA capacity building training for this year, and we will be starting up again next year, probably in February, as we'll be releasing our ECIA grant for the 2019-2020 year. So please be on the lookout. Adams and his team have some information out front, so please make sure you grab that. And we hope that you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful holiday season coming up. Thank you all.
Thank you.